Okay, okay. So I'm going to put the letter corrections in the library on easyclass.com. I don't know if you all are members of that. It's just a useful tool that I use to put my files in one place. So all the letter corrections are there. There must be approaching 118, 200 letters there. So it's quite a lot of corrections for you to have a look at. Okay, now, does anybody have any questions before we get started? So what you can do, you can either type your question into the chat box there, or you can raise your hand and I can turn your microphone on. Okay, so there's a couple of ways. Does anybody have any questions before we get underway? There's only 5 of you here. Oh, there's 6 now. So a few more people coming. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Anybody have any questions? I take it that's a no. So let's have a look. Okay, let's have a look at this. Go to the task first. Okay. Letter of referral to the admitting officer at the emergency department, Newtown Hospital. Obvious respiratory distress. Emergency department for acute management and investigation, suspected pneumonia. Doesn't look good. So what? Sally McConville, asthma, past history, asthma. So we don't need all this stuff. Hypertension, ankle fracture. Irrelevant, make sure you don't include it. Asthma, okay. Initial visit, runny nose, coughing, yellow shit, fever, okay. Wheezy, upper respiratory tract infection, okay. Second visit, increasing shortness of breath and feverish. Infective exacerbation, okay. And visit for today, short of breath, feverish, increased breathing, okay. So not so good. Let's have a look. So looks a little bit long. Let me check the word count first. 244, a little bit long. It doesn't really matter if it's too, like, it's just the more that you write, the more possibility of making a mistake and of including things that you don't need. So, you know, the word count is a guideline, but still 200, 220, 230, 240, and I've seen some that are even more. The more that you write, the more mistakes you might make and the more chance of you including irrelevant information. It's all about the task. Do you achieve the task? That's the most important thing. And the task is letter of referral, admitting officer, emergency for acute management. Okay. I'm writing to request your urgent assessment and management to present symptoms with possible. Right now, asthma exacerbation, or is it asthma exacerbate? So, right, is this a noun, asthma exacerbation, or symptoms of asthma exacerbated with possible pneumonia, or are these two things together? Are they conjoined? Asthma exacerbation or exacerbated asthma. I don't know if you would use it as a noun, asthma exacerbation, maybe exacerbated asthma, make it a verb instead of a noun. Okay, Miss McConville, you don't need that dot. Miss McConville attended my clinic with a complaint of viral respiratory tract infection, which had been occurring. Well, had been occurring, so past perfect continuous. Do we really need that? Past 2 days, which had been occurring, which she had had, or which lasted, or which had lasted, or lasting even. Lasting for the last 2 days. Okay. Furthermore, the symptoms were why. Furthermore, you know, just say and. Turned in my clinic with complaint of upper respiratory tract infection that occurred for the last 2 days. Symptoms were associated with effective exacerbation of asthma, which was treated accordingly with Ventolin and fluticasone. Okay. Ms. McConville presented with complaints of shortness of breath and wheezing, which had been present over the last 24 hours. The examination revealed a deterioration of her medical condition. Okay. There had been a mildly increased work of breathing. So why is this passive? There had been a mildly increased work. So you mean that it was increasingly difficult. So she was having to put more effort or work into breathing. So you've got to be careful if you're writing this kind of sentence to make, you know, if you're not careful, it can be too complicated, too convoluted. There had been a mildly increased work of breathing with a widespread wheeze. You could have made that simpler. You could have made that simpler. You could have made it an active sentence. It would be much easier to read. Okay. On today's visit, Ms. McConville's shortness of breath has worsened. Okay, despite taking medications. Increase work. You mean increased work of breathing with use of accessory muscles and widespread wheezes, or wheezing maybe as it's an activity instead of wheezes as plural. Therefore, Ventolin was started. Well, started again. You know, you don't have to make it passive, passive, passive all the time. You did something. So I prescribed. You know, instead of started, prescribed, I prescribed, etc. Regarding your past medical history, asthmatic, 2+ daily, and then 2+ if required, hypertension. Do we need this about depression, hypertension? Is that relevant or pertinent? I don't really think so. We don't need that. Few of the above, my provisional diagnosis is mainly complicated by acute asthma. Should be any queries? Should there be any queries? To contact me. Okay. So that's not so bad. Couple of sentences could be simplified. That's a little bit convoluted. As I say, you can maybe work that out a little bit. But in general, yeah, that's not so bad. Not so bad. Okay, what do we have here? Let's have a look. 222. Okay. I'm writing to request your urgent management and investigation. Okay, Ms. McConville features asthma exacerbation with possible pneumonia. Okay, that's good. Present with 2-day history of a runny nose, productive coughing, a little bit of fever, and wheeze. Well, wheeze, it's not just a wheeze, it's wheezing. You don't just wheeze once, it's activity, wheezing, but not shortness, but not with a little bit of fever and wheezing, but not shortness. Well, isn't so? Wheezing's not shortness of breath. Wheezing. Asthma's under control. With food that's down 2 puffs daily. Now, why is this a separate sentence? It's like you've just introduced something. So this first part is good. Okay, she came, 2-day history, a runny nose. Okay, and then this sentence: her asthma was under control. I wouldn't have put that there. I would have continued with the on examination, apart from the chest, scattered wheezing. Okay, there were no remarkable findings. her asthma was under control, but I also added 2 puffs of Ventolin, you know? So you could have reworked that information in a paragraph to make it flow a bit more logically, okay? 2 days later, she began to deteriorate at signs and symptoms, hence with considering, that's not so good. Hence, with considering the provisional diagnosis of effective exacerbation. No, that's not a very good sentence. That's too long and complicated. And hence, with considering, as I considered, or as I diagnosed, that needs rewording. That's not so natural. Okay, she was commenced daily until 3 days. Until 3 days what? What, you mean for 3 days? Not until? Okay, so for 3 days, not until. And that sentence needs reworking. It's not very natural. That needs a bit of reworking. Okay, on today's review, her condition was worsening. Well, so why is it past continuous when you are seeing her now? Wouldn't it be had worsened? Past perfect. You know, was worsening past continuous? Wouldn't you simply say, you know, had worsened? Since you saw her last, it had worsened. In spite of taking antibiotics, she felt feverish and unwell, short of breath at rest, and muscles, vital signs, diffusing on things. She's still suffering. She's still suffering. We need some auxiliary verb in front of that adverb, such as was or is. Okay, in terms of medical history, she has hypertension, which she takes regular medication. I don't know if hypertension, if we need that. In view of the above, I would be appreciated right now. It's either I would appreciate it or I would be appreciative, right? So there's a couple of different ways, but not I would be appreciated. Appreciated. So you can say I would appreciate it, or I would, come here, I would be appreciative. If I would simply say I would appreciate it, but either one of those, not I would be appreciated. That's no good. Okay, manage your condition as you feel appropriate or as you see fit. Okay, what do we have here? Thank you for urgently assessing Miss McConville. Signs and symptoms, asthma, when possible, pneumonia. Well, we don't really need that. What is that for? Why? So why is that a capital? If it's part of a sentence, we don't need the capital, and we don't actually need this. You know, thank you for urgently assessing. So if you want to put and treating and managing, you should put it there. There's no need for this at the end. Don't need it. Put it at the start. Okay. Miss McConville presented to me complaining with 2 days with running nose, coughing. I would always write it out instead of putting 2. Relative coughing, with a slight fever and wheezing. Having noticed. He. Don't make simple mistakes like that. No good. She had nasal congestion, red throat, and separate wheeze. Separate wheeze. Well, wheezing because it's activity. Separate wheezing. Because it's not just once, is it? It's an activity on chest sensation activities. And this was about infection or affecting asthma. Monthly in 2 puffs. So right. I don't know why you put this. It should be 2 puffs of, not Ventolin 2 puff. That's not a complete sentence. That's more like a note form, you know? So spell it out. 2 puffs of Ventolin every 4 hours. Because if you don't, it looks like note form, and we don't want you to write notes. We want you to write complete sentences. And suggested her and suggested she. Get your pronouns right. She continue her medications of asthma. After 2 days, she came back to see me. Had suffered from increasing breath and wheezing over the previous 24 hours. Had suffered, I would make it continuous. She had been suffering because it's not finished. Yeah. So if you she had been suffering. So using present past perfect continuous, she had been suffering means it's not finished. Okay, she had been suffering instead of she had suffered, because that implies it's finished and it's not. Upon examination and was feverish. Upon examination, she was feverish and the respiratory rate was increased. Upon auscultation, diffuse wheeze, a diffuse wheeze or diffuse wheezing again was heard. Therefore, add to medication. On today's review, 10:30 a.m. Does it matter what time it was? Okay. In spite, right now, in spite, you can't just use that. It's either in spite of or despite, not in spite. So you can either do it in spite of Miss McConville, and we don't need is in spite of Miss McConville taking, or despite Miss McConville taking her medications regularly. Her condition, why is it was, her condition deteriorated or has deteriorated. Yeah, has deteriorated, so it had deteriorated. On today's review, taking the medication, really her condition had deteriorated. Yeah, past perfect's best there. Had deteriorated since the last time you saw her. She was unwell and feverish on examination. Dyspnea and breast on ring respiratory fine. So her condition became worse. Therefore, I refer her. Why is it present simple? I am referring her. So it's either I referred her or it's I am referring her, not I refer. Not present simple would not work there. Until the question, why is this here? Why is this here? So, you know, her condition worse, I refer her medication. Okay. Depression, hypertension, what's that got to do with anything? Don't need that. Okay. It would be appreciated. Well, I suppose it would. You don't have to say that because medical professionals, they do their job. You don't have to appreciate it or thank them. Okay. Sally McConville. I reckon for Miss McConville into your care assessment. Who, signs and symptoms. What's the possessive relative pronoun clause? Whose signs and symptoms are consistent. So whose, not who. And you need a verb, be, are consistent. Miss McConville sent to me with symptoms of infection when a runny nose, productive coughing, had occurred over. Oh, right. Predictions of upper respiratory infection, runny nose, productive coughing of sputum over the previous 3 days. We don't need that. We don't need present perfect. So past perfect there. Symptoms of infection with the cough. Over the previous 3 days, associated with fever. Associated with fever, why would you put that at the end of a sentence? Wouldn't that be part of the symptoms and then put the time? So you've got symptom, the period of time, another symptom. Shouldn't you put all the symptoms first and then put the period of time? Examination with red throat and wheezy chest, was prescribed. Okay. Miss McConville. returned with worsening symptoms, with increasing breathlessness. She appeared feverish and unwell. Shots of breath at rest were found. Why is it passive? Please note distress has not improved or has not been improved. In view of the above, my provisional diagnosis, asthma exacerbation, possible pneumonia, diagnosed and treated urgently. Okay, not so bad. Let's see what else we got here. Sally McConville. Urgently see Mr. McConville, further assessment and management. Was suffering from acute exacerbation of asthma, probable pneumonia. Ms. McConville presented with the history of symptoms of viral URTI. I would always spell the acronyms out first. Associated with exacerbation of asthma symptoms. Exacerbation. Okay. So these conditions are not being improved. Why would it not have? Why is it passive? Had not been. Simply had not improved. Who's going to improve it? Her condition had not improved, and she complained of shots of breath and wheezing, which had been present over the last 24 hours. Examination: she was feverish and mild, and white wheezes were observed on chest examination. Were prescribed. Okay, today's visit. Shots of breath has worsened. Yeah, okay, good. Despite taking medications, examination revealed increased work of breathing with use of accessory muscles and white. So if you're using use, it's usually use of as a preposition. Ventolin abuse was started. Was prescribed. I prescribed her. Is an asthmatic patient, or she is simply asthmatic, or she has asthma. Hypertension and depression. I don't know why people keep mentioning this. Is that pertinent? Okay, based on the above, evaluation treatment of pneumonia. Okay. Right. Sam McConville, thank you for seeing Ms. McConville suffering from acute exacerbation of pneumonia. Your urgent management would be highly appreciated. Okay, you could put it in 2 sentences. There's no real need. You can put it right at the start instead of thank you for seeing your, I always think it's a good idea to put it right at the start. Why are you writing this? Right, so the reader knows what you want them to do immediately from sentence 1. Thank you for seeing Miss McConville, or I am writing to request your urgent management and assessment of. Not simply thank you for seeing. What does that mean? What do you want me to do? Oh, you want me to urgently assess her. Well, why not say so right from the start? I'm writing to request your urgent assessment and management of Miss McConville, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Miss McConville is an asthmatic patient. Well, simply say she's asthmatic. You don't have to say she's a patient or she has asthma. Simply say she's asthmatic, which is on fluticasone, inhaler for more hypertension, depression, hence, well, there's no hence about it. Hence means as a consequence of. She could take anything. Doesn't have any known allergies. Okay, if you want to put that there, I'd be tempted to move it down, because you've already said that she's got asthma. So, oh, by the way, she's an asthmatic, or I've just told you she has asthma. You could have put that, farther down if you need it at all. Okay, Miss McConville presented with a 2-day history of symptoms of IDR. Spell it out first. Asthma symptoms, care condition had not been improved. Why do you keep using had not improved? Not been improved by whom had it not been improved? If you use impassive, had not been improved, had not improved. And she complained of shots of breath and wheezing which had been present the last 24 hours. Okay, someone she was feverish. Widespread wheezes or wheezing were observed. Okay, yeah, that's not so bad. Common shots of breath has been worsened. Why is it passive? Who has made it worse? If you're using passive, some agent has done something, has been worsened by whom? There is no whom, it has worsened, despite taking her medications. Examination revealed increased work of breathing, increased work, with use of, you keep missing out on accessory muscles and widespread wheezes. Therefore, was started. I prescribed, was started. Started by whom? Based on the above, ventilation, as in treatment of pneumonia. Okay. So not too bad. You could maybe change a couple of things. Okay, what do we have here? Urgent attention to Miss McConville, 38 administrator. Right, now, if we don't have the age here, okay, you can include that. Does it matter what she's doing if she is an administrator? If she were a minor, then possibly her occupation might be important, but administrator was presenting with the provisional diagnosis. Well, she's not presenting with any diagnosis. You make the diagnosis. She's presenting with signs and symptoms that you diagnose. She's not presenting with a diagnosis. She's presenting with signs and symptoms that you diagnose provisionally as asthma exacerbation. So that needs a bit of reworking there. She came to me in terms of 2014, the brain nerve with kindness, waiting the previous 2 days, and mild fever, redness. Ventolin was increased to 2 puffs for hourly. Instead of putting numbers, I would write it out 2, 4 as words. On review 2 days later, Mr. McConville developed shortness of breath at work during the previous day, or simply the previous day. On examination, widespread wheezing, symptoms for the 8 were detected, therefore 3 times daily were prescribed, which was increased to 2 puffs for hourly. 2 puffs, I'd write it out, okay. Regrettably today, her condition has deteriorated. She was still feeling well and feverish, having shortness of breath at rest. Examination was commenced by whom? I prescribed. Okay, welcome to asthma, depression, hypertension, which is treated accordingly. Period assessment of the condition. Okay. So most of these are not too bad. Some of the sentences possibly need a bit of reworking. As I say, 1 or 2 need to look at the use of tenses, past tenses. You need to be careful with your use of passive because sometimes it doesn't quite work. Okay, so in general, not too bad. What do we have? Somebody put some questionnages. Let me, right, referring in conclusion, okay. Well, somebody says, evaluate your letter. I don't have it, I've just got these letters here, which Joseph gave me. He sent me these. As to where your letter might be, I have no idea. Okie doke. Now, does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to come in and say anything? Anybody want to come and ask anything? We've got 10 minutes left. I can turn your microphone on if anybody wants to come and ask anything or say anything. Anybody? Anybody want to come in? Anybody want to come and ask anything? Grammar lessons. Well, Joseph, yes. I think people are making some mistakes. An improvement or improvement. Well, usually an improvement, or simply make it improved. Past tense. She has improved. So, does nobody want to come in and have a chat? Nobody wants to come and say anything? Doesn't seem so. Okay, what I'm going to do then, I'll put the file. I'll put the file on Easy Class. Oh, sorry. And I'll put this video on YouTube. You can download it and watch it and see. Your letter is in Telegram. Well, I don't know, as I say, Joseph sent me this. Can you have a look at this? It's a bit quick, it's a bit short, but that's all I've got time for. I'm not doing individual letters anymore because I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm just not. Try sending your letters to Swoosh, E2 or Benchmark and say, hello, can you assess my letter for free, and see what they tell you. I know what they'll tell you, and it's not polite. So this is all I've got the time for. So, right, I'll see you later. I'm going to put the files in Easy Class and on YouTube. And I'll see you again sometime in the future if I get any incentive to do so. So I'll turn this off and I'll be in Telegram for a while. Okay.